This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Thanks for joining us ahead of your Thanksgiving holiday, Monday, November 25th, 2 o'clock Eastern, just like every podcast, Monday, Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern, streaming live on YouTube and then debuting on all podcast platforms. Juan Soto, next steps this week. The offers are coming for the generational Juan Soto, a 26-year-old man who's going to get a ton of money. The Yankees and the other teams in the Juan Soto chase may ultimately prefer to pay that ton of money to 7 different 31-year-old men. I don't know. Some of them are going to be forced into doing that, not by choice, because Juan Soto is going to say, I want to sign with a different team. Then those teams are going to have to go, oh, crap. Okay, well, what's next? That might be the Yankees, and the details of their plan B are starting to leak out, especially via MLB insider Bob Nightingale on this Monday morning. And the details of his plan B were weird. So we'll talk about that possibility. Plus, roster shuffling on Friday, the non-tender deadline. The Yankees let a couple of players loose. They renegotiated with one who we thought would be gone with some degree of certainty, but isn't set to stay on the Yankees for next year either. We don't know whether he'll crack the opening day roster, and we will talk about it. You want to take my pulse right now? I know you do. I don't think he'll be on the team. We'll talk about it, though. Plus another player whose name didn't really come up in the non-tender mix, who I also think is very likely to be traded. Anybody cut by other teams who we're interested in? I sure am. Plus, yelling at one MLB Instagram graphics person who deserves to have their pay docked or raised, depending on what they're trying to do. Also, Juan Soto getting frisky with those Instagram follows, but also not really. If those are the tea leaves you're reading, then please stop reading tea leaves. Go enjoy turkey and pie and get your face out of your tea. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the podcast. Heavy one today. Still 2 weeks ahead of the winter meetings. That's when things really go down. That's when a lot of people expect Soto to make some sort of grandiose final decision, enter into the banquet hall down there in Dallas wearing a tuxedo of the color with the accents of the team that he chose or whatnot, while Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman panic in another room like, did you hear anything about a tuxedo? I didn't hear anything about a tuxedo. What's up with the tuxedo? And it's clear that they just don't have a finger on the button and whatever's going on. We're going to have some fun guests for the Winter Meetings pods. We're going to be live a lot. Expect good coverage from us, but that's what you should expect anyway. How you feeling entering the holiday week, Juan Soto? They did their acquaintance meetings already, went through that whole list, which does beg the question, like, what was the last week? What was anybody doing? We don't know, but we still have plenty of uncertainty to talk about.
Yeah. How am I feeling? I already decorated for Christmas, as you can see. I couldn't do it this weekend, so I said, I'm not waiting 2 weeks, so I'll do it now. And I did it yesterday. How am I feeling about Juan Soto? I don't know. I really don't. Like I said, I still feel the Yankees are the logical choice for his career legacy. I don't like that I'm hearing that the Yankees have a line in the sand in terms of a number that they're going to go to. And the only reason I don't like that is because they're already limiting themselves. You don't know what the offers are going to be. You don't know what the offers are going to be. You don't know what supposedly Boris wants to break the AAV number, right?
And so much of the discourse, I think the self-limiting part of that is that so much of the discourse is like, it all feels intended to get the price point to a certain spot.
Yeah.
Like when John Heyman is like, the Jays feel like a favorite, that is obviously intended to make the Mets and Yankees sweat. Same with the Red Sox reports. When people report that Steve Cohen is willing to go to lengths undetermined and never before seen, he'll pay anything, that's obviously meant to drive the price up for the Yankees. And it's possible that Steve Cohen will pay a price that no one's ever paid before. But when that news goes public, that's supposed to put pressure on other front offices. When the leak is that the Yankees have a limit and a line in the sand, that puts pressure on no one. So that's the problem. Like, what does that do? It just makes the Yankees seem kind of weak.
Yeah. And look, there are things that I understand, right? I understand that there is probably a number where you say that's just doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, in my mind, I think I finally resigned to the fact that this should go no higher than 575. It's going to, but it is. Shohei Ohtani is a better baseball player than Juan Soto. Shohei Ohtani is a more marketable baseball player than Juan Soto. Shohei Ohtani is a perennial MVP candidate, an international superstar, and that is baked into the contract. That is part of the price. I don't know how this approaches $700 million. I really don't. Like, you look at Juan Soto as a player, he's excellent, but there are defensive deficiencies, and that has to play into the price. It won't, though, because it's an historic year to hit free agency. It was proven how important he was to the Yankees. Just think about, again, if this team did not have Juan Soto, I guess Aaron Judge maybe carries them throughout the regular season, but they're out in the first round of the playoffs. Probably, right? Like, they probably are. And it's always dangerous when Scott Boras has this type of client in a very important offseason. So I know the bidding is going to go higher. You know that Steve Cohen obviously has the money. Again, I want to see Steve Cohen put his money where his mouth is, because there's yet to be a contract that has proven that. You could point to Francisco Lindor, but, you know, that was another situation where he signed somebody to a market-based contract. Like, they had a comp. It was Fernando Tatis Jr. He gave Francisco Lindor $1 more million than Fernando Tatis Jr. and said, that's it. And then every other contract after that was either retaining a Mets free agent or a high AAV deal short-term for an aging player that he could easily kick to the curb and figure out. So, again, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not scared of the Jays. We talked about the Red Sox at length last episode. Don't really want to go more into that.
I'm done with them
for sure.
They're a better fit than either of the other two teams that are mentioned here. And if all he wants to do is take $750 million from Steve Cohen, then yeah, he'll go to the Mets. And the comments saying, you know, did you see the report this morning that the Mets are the clear-cut favorites? Are we nervous? I mean, are we nervous? No, because this isn't an Aaron Judge situation where you went into that offseason going, I'm terrified they're going to steal this captain of the Yankees from us and he's going to go to San Francisco. This is a player who all year long we hoped would be convinced to stay. He acted like a mercenary off the field. And then now he, you know, is acting like a mercenary now that the season has ended. He is playing free agency exactly the way he always intended to. He is talking about himself like the rest of his career is in the past tense, and his career begins now. And that's fine. So I would love for him to return. It's the kind of imperfect fit that you make sacrifices for because he is literally Juan Soto. He's an incredible baseball player. The simplest version of the Yankees offseason includes Juan Soto returning. But if not, that was a fantastic 1 year. You can't be angry that he got you to the World Series, and hopefully you learn the right lessons from that. And again, the easiest way to ensure relevance for next year and beyond is signing Juan Soto. So put the truth serum in me. I hope they do it. That's what I want them to do. But Nightingale saying that they're, you know, I'm not nervous because you knew that this was going to be some sort of an odd free agency fit. He wasn't going to declare outright that he preferred the pinstripes to whatever riches are going on at Citi Field. And he's not going to say that. He didn't, and he won't. And I think the thing about, I mean, you're right. All of this is the same regurgitated nonsense. Everyone saying that the Mets are the favorites are saying that because they know that Steve Cohen has a huge net worth and could do something stupid that other teams can't do. They don't know that he will. They just know. Bob Nightingale, even in this morning's report, said the Mets are the clear-cut favorites because executives believe that Steve Cohen could make some sort of absurd Godfather offer. And that's been the belief forever. That was the belief in April. That's the belief now. He has not made it. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But regardless, if what Juan Soto wants is a Godfather ridiculous offer from the person with the top budget on the market, then yeah, he'll go there. But the Red Sox pitches sound more convincing than the Mets pitches, personally, to me. And if you're bidding for Juan Soto, if you're the Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, or Mets, then you have a lot of money. No one is entering this bidding going, I have $300, but the power of friendship. There is going to be a ton of money exchanged no matter what. And so the question is, okay, if it sets certain records, if it sets certain AAV records, are you satisfied wherever you go? And we'll see. That's why the Red Sox are so scary to me. Because, yes, the Mets could just be behemoths if they really want to for the first time under Steve Cohen and say, F the plan, F whatever David Stearns is putting together, disregard that we're low on pitching, and just get Juan Soto and figure out the rest later. They could. But all the Mets are favorites things. I mean, the Mets have been the favorite since the day that the Yankees got him, essentially, because of the power that Steve Cohen possesses and the power of the unknown. Because we know that he could do something outrageous, but he's yet to do something outrageous.
Yeah. So again, believe it when we see it. I don't know what the first offers are going to look like. Again, don't think Steve Cohen's coming in with $750 to start. I'm not scared of him going. The only place I'm scared of him going is the Red Sox. I think that's the only place. Everywhere else,
I would tune out. Great. I would tune out. I would be done. I would be absolutely done with baseball if that occurred.
Yeah, and that would
be
fully
for 3 days, and then I'd be
that would be fully justifiable. You just turn everything off for a few days, you figure out, and at that point, the Yankees will have the plan B in place. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But
I mean, no one has ever done that. If the money is close, no one has just been like, being with the Yankees was incredible. I made the World Series. Like Aaron Judge and I did the Crown King Me celebration all year, and now I'd like to go to the Boston Red Sox. No one has done that, and so if he does, all-time villain, world historic villain. And that would be the end of the Yankees had the upper hand on the Red Sox for a month and a half. Because they weren't even better than the Red Sox during the regular season. Like, the Red Sox came to Yankee Stadium and pantsed them in July. So the Yankees went to the World Series, had the upper hand on the Red Sox in August, September, and October, and then it would be instantaneously over, and the Yankees have to start from scratch. That'd be nightmarish. That would be terrible. But the Mets, you just have to, if it's the Mets, I would be so curious what numbers come out and when they come out. There would be nothing... Like, no angry Yankee fan about, furious over not getting Juan Soto is going to be like, okay, well, then, they're not going to get a number and be like, that makes sense. I appreciate Hal Steinbrenner not going further. Some will, but the furious people never will. But I would like to see, because no one's going to be satisfied anyway. You don't really have anything to lose by leaking your offer because people are already infuriated. So you might as well just be like, all right, he went 725. We were set at 660. Are you happy now? Some people might be happy. The angry folks will never be satisfied. But the plan B, signing Juan Soto gets you Juan Soto. It's the best thing.
And I want him.
It's the best thing for your roster, and you shouldn't stop there. But the Yankees would. If they signed Juan Soto, this would be a really weird year. With Aaron Judge in center field, which left his legs tired and his range diminished and his body work overall depleted by the end of the year. I'm not blaming the terrible postseason on him playing center all year because he's been terrible in the postseason in the past, and I think that's psychological. But I don't think his defense in center field warranted that's a long-term fit. Let's keep him. I'd rather he play first base than center field. You do it for Juan Soto. But if you pay $700 million to Juan Soto, then all of a sudden you have a weird Aaron Judge problem on your hands. Objectively. You have Caleb Durbin at second base, probably. You have Jazz Chisholm, who learned third base in the middle of August last year at third base again. Fine. He had great hands, and he was pretty bad at the other stuff. Good range, weird. He played third base like a guy learning third base on the fly. Weird. And then Jason Dominguez will play left field, which is a position they agreed he couldn't play during the playoffs last year. Yeah. And then I guess Trent Grisham, who we'll talk about later, would probably be sticking around as the fourth outfielder. And Garrett Cole would be like, okay, so one of my 4 remaining years with the Yankees is kind of weird. Got it.
I just had a funny thought. What if they give him 1 year for $100 million and then let him hit free agency?
I think that's what the Dodgers offered.
Why not? Why would you not sign just insane 60 million plus AAV 1 year contracts for the rest of your career?
There was
a
rumor I don't believe at all, and I'm going to go on the record saying I do not believe this at all. That he
Where's it from?
He wanted an opt. Oh, I mean, from nowhere land. It was Marino Pepin and Brian Spader, but that there was an opt out in play after like year 3 or 4. Like that goes against everything he said. He has never said when did he say he wants to join?
Oh, well, I don't believe anything he says. He's not saying it. Yeah. I don't believe in it. And not just because I think he's untrustworthy. I think, again, it's playing the business card of it.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing.
But entering free agency again at 30 makes it so much less risky. It makes it so much more appealing for a team with a short-term window. Like, I don't know. That would be like all of these things. I'm skeptical of any rumor that favors the team. Like the AAV in that rumor was like 43.
Oh, then that's bullshit. If the AAV in that was like 60+ million in the first 3-4 years, and then it started to dive off after that, then that would make sense.
Yeah. And it's like, if those are the rumored offers, then fine. If those are the rumored what he's seeking, then no, I don't get that at all. Because he's seeking a crazy number, looking for someone to match something insane. Yeah. So if the Yankees do not sign Juan Soto, first off, the caveat, it's not going to be easy to be better than the team that has Juan Soto this season specifically. It could happen. The chips could all fall where they may, but when you make 7 moves, you got to nail 5 of them. It's really not as easy as just signing Juan Soto. That's it. And there's a world where you go, all right, we don't have the money. We didn't get it. And now we have the money burning a hole in our pockets. You know what we could have some fun doing? Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Kyle Tucker next year. And just sort of be in between this year and then give out 2 $350 million contracts next year when even more money comes off the books. That's a thing they could do. They're not going to do that. I'm pretty sure if they do miss on Juan Soto, their plan B will be a bunch of random stuff. And Bob Nightingale all but confirmed that today. Mm-hmm. It would be a wild offseason for the people who thrive off reading the rumor mill every day if this were to happen. But the Nightingale plan B was basically Christian Walker. Let's see if I can even get it all in one breath. Christian Walker first, Jazz back to second, either Alex Bregman or Willie Adames at third, trade for Cody Bellinger to play center field, move Aaron Judge back to right, and then sign a top pitcher, Burns, Fried, Snell. Now, order of operations. In a vacuum, by the way, just saying like, hey, do I like this move or do I not? Adames or Bregman? Yep, I'm on board. I like it. Jazz back to second base. I like that as well. Yes. Caleb Durbin, great bench piece. And the less you can rely on rookies, the better when you're in the heart of this window. Mm-hmm. He belongs on the big league team. You give him the starting role out of spring training. I do not think that you should just automatically do that. So I like it. I think you should make the team. I like those things. Bellinger for center field, only if they can put Marcus Stroman's money in that deal.
That's where I can't do Bellinger in center field, because then what are you doing with Dominguez?
Yeah. If you're absorbing $10 million of Bellinger's money, I'm willing to think about it. Otherwise, you're Josh Donaldsoning yourself. That's a Donaldson trade. That's like, well, we didn't get Guy, so here's expensive aging guy who everyone agrees is regressing over time, and we're paying him so much money. Isn't that smart? Yeah. Like, he's no Gio Urshela. Okay, great. Well,
I'd rather Bellinger at first base, keep Ben Rice on the bench, Dominguez in center, and then find a left fielder. I don't know. That would be the only thing that could justify a Cody Bellinger trade for me, because he keeps getting injured in center field. Constantly injured in center field. So why are you going to trade for somebody? I mean, it would be very vintage of the Yankees to do that. There's already reports from the weekend that they're interested in re-signing Jonathan Loaizaga, who has pitched 1 full season for them since he debuted in 2018. So the insanity continues. But yeah, I draw the line at Bellinger. Nonetheless, keep going, because this is all interesting.
Well, the pitching, so either Fried or Snell or Burns, well, you got to be quick on that, because the same column had the Red Sox angling for 2 of those 3 guys. Do I think they get 2 of those 3 guys? No. Do I think they get 1 of those 3 guys? I would put $100 on it. Yes.
Yeah, I would, and I would say Snell.
I would say Fried, but I also think that they're kidding themselves. If they imagine going into this offseason with clear rotation needs and this fleet of young offensive talent in the minors, and Wilyer Abreu and Jaron Duran and Tristan Casas, and being like, we're gonna compete in the bidding for these top free agent starters and not get them. Like, no, what the Red Sox have to, and like going into it being like, we're in the Juan Soto chase, and leaving it being like, we came in third on Snell. Like, they will burn down that stadium. I am in favor of the Red Sox not being good, but they have literally no excuse not to sign one of those top guys and trade for one of the other available top guys, whether it's a Seattle guy or Garrett Crochet or what have you. Literally no excuse. They were a 500 team last year with a rotation built on like sticks and mud. So there's no reason for them to not do that. And if they don't sign Soto and they also need a plan B, they're going to announce Burns, Fried, or Snell by end of day. Like, that deal will be locked and loaded. And they might still get Juan Soto. But if the Yankees and Red Sox find themselves in the same bucket needing to pivot, okay, you better be quick because they're getting one of those pitchers 3 hours after the Juan Soto destination is announced. So I get it. I'm in favor of it. See what you can do, but a heavy level of competition there.
Yeah. It's very true. And the teams that are going to be liberal with spending that aren't in on Juan Soto are obviously going after pitching. It's how it is every offseason. They're going to be willing to pay for honestly all of these guys, Snell included. I think that after the way that he rebounded in the second half, it reshapes his market, makes teams maybe realize that they should have signed him last year because they would have got a full year out of him had they not signed him after spring training was done. For me, Burns, I think, is too costly and is going to be another regression starting pitching candidate given his age. And I think that Snell will require fewer years. Max Fried, I do like, but kind of secretly always dinged up. And
I don't like him.
Over the last few years, kind of getting blown up in big games, which is a Yankee specialty. I think with what you're trying to do with this roster, right? This roster is a ticking time bomb. You have only a few more years of Aaron Judge's prime. You have only a few more years of Garrett Cole's prime. You have only a few more years of Chisholm hitting free agency before your cost-effective starters go away, before the cost-effective bullpen arms go away and all that. Throw in Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez. So, like, it's the perfect storm right now to get guys on, if you could, some shorter term deals. I think Snell will probably be in the 4-5 range, whereas Fried and Burns will be in the 7+. If that's a safe estimate, I think that's the way that it's going to shake out. And I think that most teams are probably eyeing Burns and Fried first over Snell, just because they are the longer term options when you look at how, that their age is hitting free agency and their body of work so far. I would hope that in this plan, if the Yankees had to go this route, I'm definitely on board with Christian Walker, but if you could slightly tweak it, I would trade for Bellinger to play first. I would put Dominguez in center.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally fine with Adames or Bregman. It'd probably be safer to go for Bregman. That would be my guess, but if the Yankees are being cost conscious, then Willy Adames is definitely the choice. Either way, similar profiles. The only difference is that Adames would be shifting from short to third, which is inevitable anyway. He'll have to do that in a few years, whereas Bregman is an entrenched full-time third baseman. Mm-hmm. And then, I would pay Snell. And I haven't even looked at the outfield market because it is always the most crowded.
We just got the best free agent on the market in Trent Grisham. So market is good.
We'll get to that in a minute. But the other layer of this that I really love is the supposed mutual interest with Walker Buehler.
Yes.
That's a 1 to 2 year deal. I don't think that's a long-term deal. There are caveats, right? He's been largely injured since 2021. He was bad this year outside of the postseason. And even in the one postseason game he pitched against the Padres, they lost because he got shelled for 6 runs. But he is out of the woods with that elbow surgery now. I think the postseason proved that. He's a big game pitcher, even before this year and before the NLCS in 2021, when I guess his elbow started barking. On track to be a Dodgers postseason legend, and his numbers still kind of are there in terms of what he was able to accomplish in October. So that's a great depth rotation piece for the Yankees. He doesn't have to be emphasized. He could be mid to back rotation and be able to feast. And then if I'm looking at the free agents for the outfield, I don't. So one thing I'm definitely done with is playing guys out of position, right? So if we can get Judge back to right field and Dominguez in center, that leaves left field open. And under this experiment, if we're getting Bellinger, lefty hitter, Adames or Bregman, righty hitter, shifting Dominguez to center, that's adding a lefty. I don't think you have to go lefty here. I think you could go right-handed. And wouldn't it be cool to get Tyler O'Neill? I know his defense kind of sucks, but like that's another 25 plus homer power bat. And if he's batting 6th or 7th in the lineup, like that's pretty deadly. And you're taking obviously a Red Sox free agent away. There are other options here too. Like Brian De La Cruz just got non-tendered. I don't think that's an impact signing by any means, but offers athleticism and it's a solid bat. Jurickson Profar's out there. I don't know what he's going to command after that career year with the Padres. Nonetheless, Jesse Winker, if you really wanted to go in that direction, but I think he's more of a 4th outfielder. There are options. There are options to spread this money around and for this team to still contend. And it could be more advantageous because, again, Juan Soto in the fold locks Aaron Judge out of right field, you would suspect, and then displaces Jason Dominguez and makes this defensive lineup even worse, and then really hamstrings what you can do with the rest of the money. But that's the direction I would go with a plan B. The Bellinger trade would not be for center field. I think that's absolutely crazy. And I would take out Fried and Burns. I think you just go after Snell for 4 years, make it hefty, and that's that. Because, look, you do need a lefty in the rotation. Carlos Rodon is not it. It's just not it. Unfortunately, you wish it were. And, Yusei Kikuchi signed today with the Angels, 3 years, $63 million. And you're looking at that deal and you're like, man, wouldn't I kind of rather have that than Rodon? Like, I don't think Kikuchi's necessarily better than Rodon, but like the numbers are somewhat similar and you have 3 fewer years and a lower AAV and a pitcher that the ceiling of, or like the definite ceiling of, like, definite ceiling for Kikuchi is number 2 at best, and that is that I think that's a reach. I think you have a really good number 3 starter who solidifies the rotation, and you're not wondering like, oh, could this guy be our other postseason ace? You just know what you have, and the Yankees have too many wild cards here where they project the ceilings to be higher. We've done the same. We thought Carlos Rodon could be a co-ace to Garrett Cole. We were wrong. We thought DJ LeMahieu could be a machine for the next 4 years. We were wrong. So it just goes to show that the Yankees do need to be smarter with their money, because you're looking at all these other deals throughout baseball. You're looking at all these other balanced rosters throughout baseball, and they're not there. They're just not.
No. And Kikuchi very rarely gets rocked. I'm a fan. I think the Astros unlock something, and now he stays in the AL West. There's one team doing things this offseason. What is going on? Like, the movement is stagnant, and I understand why it's stagnant around the Juan Soto chasers. But
didn't they do this last year too? The Angels. This
is the most people I've ever seen them sign.
Yeah.
Since the heyday of, like, Josh Hamilton gets our money, Anthony Rendon gets our money. We signed the 4th best free agent in every offseason, and it doesn't work. Pujols was genuinely shocking when it happened. I wish I had been more tuned in on that rumor mill, because it didn't seem that nuts to me. It was like, well, they win the AL West every year. Like, why is it that weird? They did at that point, Why is it that weird that they want to sign Albert Pujols? But in retrospect, it was pretty absurd. And we'll see. Yeah, Jorge Soler, Travis d'Arnaud, Yusei Kikuchi, Kyle Hendricks. That one I don't understand. I think he's DFA'd by May, but hey,
could just be a floating arm.
Not my money.
Need arms.
Not my money.
Yeah,
Tyler O'Neill, I don't mind at all. Like, I would take Tyler O'Neill. I would assume that he plays less How much worse is his defense in left than Soto's in right?
Exactly. And if you have Judge in right and you have Dominguez in center, you should be good. You can
O'Neill won
sacrifice.
O'Neill won the Gold Glove in both 2020 and 2021. Now the eye test didn't match this year, but he has not always been a negative.
And Fenway's also a pain in the ass in left field. Remember that.
Yeah.
I'll
never forget it. I mean, look, honestly, I think the Red Sox would be biased take. We've got the Mets fans in the comments telling us that the Juan Soto backup plan would be better for the Yankees than Soto. Obviously, a biased take. And here's another biased take.
Guys.
I think the Adames, Crochet, Burns is a better offseason for the Red Sox than Soto and question mark. But, it's not my decision.
Adames, Crochet, Burns would actually scare me.
Yeah, and that obviously comes from a place of bias. I'm never going to be – this is called the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm never going to be like, this is a totally objective take on the Red Sox offseason, but I want them to not get Juan Soto. I would hate that. But I do think that look, you followed the Red Sox. If you're a Yankee fan –
I did.
Yeah, we've all followed the Red Sox. Like, how many times have they not done the big move and we're like, woo – and then they do 6 smaller things and end up better than the team that made the big move.
Yeah.
All the time. 2013 offseason, what the hell was that?
What was
Washed Shane Victorino, hype man Johnny Gomes, Mike Napoli, and you're looking at this poo-poo platter being like, all right, so they just had money to burn, I guess, and then, oops, smash cut to the middle of the season, they're unbeatable. So we've seen it before. I hope we don't see it again. I also, if I had to pick one, I'd rather they not sign Juan Soto. So, obviously, let's talk about the non-tender deadline a bit. Also, let's do 35 minutes on Steve Cohen's wife following Juan Soto on Instagram, which is massive. Obviously, he doesn't follow back, so that means he's going back to the Yankees. But that broke the internet this weekend. So. We have a Patreon episode where we're just going to do 45 minutes on that.
Exclusive content.
Yeah, checking out her other follows. Oh, it looks like she follows Land's End. Does that mean the Mets are entering into an exclusive uniform renegotiation contract with Land's End? I don't know. Stay tuned. The Yankees had a chance on Friday at the deadline to get rid of some wasted money in the non-tender deadline, trim things at the margins, and ultimately they did get around $8 million projected money off the books. John Birdie, 3.8 was the MLB trade rumors projection. Tim Meza, $4 million. Both are gone. Meza was obvious, although I've said that before, and it has not been the case. He made it through the entire back half of the year, not DFA'd, so interesting, but he was the second lefty in the bullpen. He was fine. He was middling. He costs, 6 times the amount of money that I would hope the Yankees would pay for what he did. He leaves them without a lefty on the 40-man as a reliever right now, but that should be Tim Hill in a couple of days, weeks, months, years. And either way, again, you got to pick your battles on what to panic on. If you're like Tim Meza leaves them without a lefty in the bullpen, man, I don't get it. What are they doing? Then I understand you're passionate and you love your team, but I cannot get worked up over Tim Meza. They're going to have 2 better lefties in the bullpen in a month and a half. So all good. John Birdie, not surprising, but kind of a bummer.
Surprising, but not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, not surprising for the Yankees in their heyday, or surprising for the Yankees in their heyday. Not at all surprising for the budget-conscious Yankees to be like $4 million for a guy who didn't play for us last year and whose primary objective is speed. And we have a ton of utility infielders already. Oswaldo Cabrera is here. Caleb Durbin is here. Jazz Chisholm is going to float around the infield. Oswald Peraza is technically here. They're going to bring in someone else to play Birdie. So, I get why they did that, but also, and he was injured from the end of May to the beginning of September, and then again for the World Series with a separate injury. So, I hear you. But at the same time, they're in an offseason where they're getting rid of Gleyber Torres, and they technically don't have a starting second baseman. You got these depth pieces, but you don't have anybody who, if you looked up on opening day, you would be 100% confident is the starter at second base. John Birdie is a major leaguer, an established major leaguer. He could always come back for a renegotiated salary, but the fact that he was non-tendered instead of doing that indicates he's probably moving on. And I wouldn't have done that, but I acknowledge why they did it.
Yeah, I was on the fence with all of these decisions outside of Mesa. Obviously, $4 million for
Not on the
him was
fence there. Yeah.
not on the fence there. Even Grisham with a pay. The only thing I kind of disagreed with was Grisham with a pay cut. I kind of would agree that Birdie's a little bit redundant, and this past season was probably going to be his audition to see, hey, you're going to last a year longer than this year because we can control getting rid of you or not. And then he played 25 games and was essentially ineffective outside of being kind of speedy on the base paths.
Yeah.
So extraneous cost, you could say, but at the same time, like the Yankees love oft injured players who provide a little bit of a different spark at a bargain price. And you could argue that Birdie does do that. For Grisham, the only thing that I can think of is that he will be trade bait, or the Yankees are going to keep him with the idea that Jason Dominguez is a starting center fielder. And then if things go to shit with Dominguez, they'll have a backup center fielder who plays really good defense and will be able to spell in the event Dominguez can't be an everyday player or he gets injured, because he's injured very often. But in terms of cutting money and preparing yourselves for an offseason that is supposed to be busy and filled with, you would assume, a lot of major offers to free agents, this was a little bit surprising because I would have just non-tendered everybody and then figured it out, because if you non-tender everybody, you save almost $20 million. Like literally, Jose Trevino and Grisham would have combined for another 10 to 12, and they saved 8 with Mesa and Birdie. So, like, I don't know, you just blew $6 million on a buyout for Anthony Rizzo. And you still need to, and look, the other important parts of the roster that need to be fixed are the bullpen, which you look at more and more bullpen arms as the off seasons and the trade deadlines go by, and those don't get any cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really even looked into the relief market because the Yankees haven't been major players in the relief market for a while now, ever since they realized that spending all that money on Zach Britton and Aroldis Chapman was a complete waste. But you're going to have to pay for pitching no matter which way it comes. And if we're being honest, the Yankees do not have any leg up on the trade market this offseason. They have nothing to offer. Their top 10 prospects are not good, or other teams have gotten enough of a look at them where they're like, yeah, no, thanks, but cool what you got.
What are we trading Spencer Jones for this offseason?
Yeah.
And his historic AA K rate? Like, your best bet is holding him, and hoping that he provides you anything, because we've yelled about the Yankees devaluing assets in the past. He's already devalued.
No, this is what they do.
The time to yell about that was last offseason.
Mm-hmm.
It happened.
Yeah.
So holding him any longer, I mean, what's the risk? He struck out 200 times in 122 games at AA.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he becomes a great player, but who the fuck is lining up for that?
Yeah. And this is what the Yankees do. They don't capitalize on imaginary massive value, which Spencer Jones had last offseason, and we kind of disagreed with it because
IMV, measuring value.
1 year of Corbin Burns didn't really justify that, especially when you were looking at the other, or when you looked at how the trade ended up. Like, they went for a swing pitcher who is like maybe bullpen, maybe starter, and a defense first infielder. And you're like, and you wanted Spencer Jones, who's like a supposed 5-tool player. Like, that seems insane. Mm-hmm. And then you look at 1 year of Burns and you're like, that's great. But also, this team doesn't really need elite starting pitching. Their pitching is very good. They need offense, and they need a different identity in terms of athleticism and providing sparks and clutch hitting and all that. So, but either way, the Yankees do what they do best, and they either don't capitalize on the imaginary trade value that whatever these teams make up for. They don't sell high when they can, and then they're now stuck with assets they have to sit with to either regain value or until they become nothing and they're shucked off the roster and they're picked up by another team and they eventually homer against the Yankees. We know this whole circle of Yankees young talent, Yankees prospect pool goes. it's sad and it sucks, but they have no edge on the trade market. Dominguez is, I don't know who's trading for Jason Dominguez at this point and giving up like major assets unless you're a down on your luck small market club who has to get rid of rising arbitration costs. And I don't think there are that many candidates out there this year. But yeah, in terms of their non-tenders in a vacuum, like, yeah, they either kept Grisham for outfield depth. I think keeping Grisham, full disclosure, and this is good, means Alex Verdugo's gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's not coming back. There's no chance of that happening. And if he does, that would be an absolute nightmare. Or Grisham is a trade piece because I think another team would pay. I think there are teams out there who could put Trent Grisham as their starting center fielder.
Yes.
There's plenty of teams out there that could do that. $5 million for a center fielder who has pop and grades out above average on defense is of value for teams that can't afford to pay $15 to $25 million for a center fielder. So I think the Yankees have a little bit of flexibility there. Again, I like Jose Trevino a lot. I don't know why we would need a second catcher for that much money. Maybe they view that as a tradable asset for a bullpen arm of sorts. I don't know. If it were me, I would have removed as many obstacles as possible. I understand you could, in theory, get value for these players on the trade market, but it adds to your to-do list, and the Yankees already have a lot to do. You want to talk about other trades they have to make. They have to dump salaries. There are multiple salaries that they have to dump. They cannot carry Marcus Stroman in a highlighted pitching role. They cannot carry DJ LeMahieu at all. So those are two other trades they have to get going. I don't know. Again, I don't make rosters, but this is already an underwhelming group of players, if you ask me. So why not just be done with it?
Yeah,
and figure it out from there.
I'm not interested in prolonging the Trent Grisham experiment, and I think, look, I was harsh on him last year when he was listless in center field and let that ball roll up his arm, and the Reds took an extra base on him or whatever. But also, if you were a Major League Baseball player and you're in your prime and you know you have power and speed and defense and you're playing 22 games a year, you would also be mad and maybe a little bit listless. And I'm not sure why you willingly took a pay cut to go back to that situation, unless he thinks he's getting a bump in playing time with Alex Verdugo out of town, which he theoretically would. But there's no world in which the Yankees are both a contender and start Trent Grisham. They might start Trent Grisham, but they'd be taking a big step back without Juan Soto, or they'd be a contender and they'd have somebody else who isn't Alex Verdugo taking reps away from Trent Grisham. So while it's true that it's a valuable asset and you don't want to just send him out in the free agent market because you're not the Pirates and you're not doing it with Brian De La Cruz or whatever, at the same time, like, everyone knows that he's not playing here in a best case scenario, and the Yankees don't intend to open with Trent Grisham starting in the outfield. So if everyone else knows that too, what are they going to offer you for Trent Grisham? I get it, but I don't really have any interest in that being anyone's backup plan, especially when you have to find reps for Jason Dominguez. And then Jose Trevino, I didn't expect him to be non-tendered, but I do not expect him to be on the roster when the season starts. It's not it's not a big money saving opportunity. Like, we got to get out of Stroman's money and we got to figure out what to do with DJ LeMahieu. And, oh, by the way, we're paying Aaron Hicks $9.26 million to do nothing, to not. It's worse now than when he was an Oriole and an Angel. We're no longer paying him to play baseball elsewhere. We're paying him to not do anything, to golf. So cool. But Jose Trevino, I mean, they added another catcher to the 40-man last week. They added another catcher to the 40-man a couple weeks before that. They have Carlos Narvaez on the 40-man. Austin Wells is your starter. So, given all that, is Jose Trevino with his diminished arm strength or diminished wrist strength or whatever it is that did it to him and took the arm strength away, is that as valuable as someone like Narvaez playing 40, 50 games a year? I personally don't think so. I wish it was. I like Jose Trevino a lot. I think that he's a likely pre-opening day trade piece, and it doesn't save much money, but it does feel like a necessity.
Yeah, I mean, it's all whatever, you know. We're sitting here, we had no idea what they were going to do with these non-tender candidates. Now they did what they did, and it's like, all right, I get it, but also I kind of don't, and nothing excites me, and I'm bored. No creativity, no trades. Reds and Royals worked out a trade for Jonathan India and Brady Singer. Interesting swap. Like, why is there none of that happening?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs, but again, the Yankees always seem to be the last to the party when it comes to all of this. Like,
well, then they should have signed Gleyber Torres to the Trent Grisham deal and traded him for Brady Singer instead. 1 year for Gleyber Torres, and then we'll trade you for Brady.
so, like, is this ignorant? I haven't even looked at Brady Singer's stats. I know he had a solid year, but, like, what's the difference between Brady Singer and Clark Schmidt? Is there much?
Singer's had a full year, and there's durability, and he was on Team USA. But is there?
Okay.
No, not really.
So there's somewhat durability. He made his first 30-plus start season last year, 3.71 ERA, 3.94 FIP, 1.28 WHIP, 179 and two-thirds innings. Year prior, 29 starts. Year prior, 24 starts. Year prior, 27 starts. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, why don't you dangle Clark Schmidt and figure it? Like,
we also keep forgetting about Nestor Cortez, who showed up in the playoffs, and thank God he did. By the way, I don't know what we'd have done without him, but he has like an elbow injury that they all agreed might fray to the point of needing to be surgically replaced. But he was like, "Yo, for love of the game, like I will come into the postseason and I will ruin the World Series. You better believe it." And then he did just that, but. That's $7 million that you'd probably like to clear, and they tried to clear it last year's trade deadline, didn't do it, and now who the hell is trading for him? Like, everyone's going to be privy to medicals in these trades, so I guess just keep him, right? Because, again, what's the value there? But then the only value in trading him is getting rid of the money, but, I mean, that's not even – I think it's more realistic to trade DJ LeMahieu or Marcus Stroman at this point than trade Nestor Cortez and his mysterious exploding arm for like who's taking on any salary burden for that? A team that's trying to meet the floor, the Oakland Sacramento A's. Like, I don't know who else is trading for Nestor Cortez right now. So, yeah, Yankees are in a, there's a reason that Dodger fans are showing up to the comments to troll us because this is trolling the Yankee season. The Yankees are in a financial bind. If you hate the Yankees, then you're definitely coming to this podcast. We talked about it on the last show, like the downfall of the Yankees because they lost the World Series. I mean, fine. People are going to do whatever narrative they want to do. This is a 94-win team that won a relatively weak American League this year and could do it again next year and could strengthen themselves. And all the other teams that were supposed to make massive leaps over them did not last year. The Orioles did not. The Astros fell apart and might be losing Alex Bregman in the postseason. The Astros started like 15 games under 500 and clawed back. It didn't have enough juice. We'll see. Yankees could easily make the World Series next year. They could easily win it. But look how fast things turn year over year. You got a Dodgers fan in our mentions trolling us about underperforming in the playoffs. What the hell did your team do? What did your team do in 2021, 2022, 2023, every season that wasn't 60 games long? Horrible playoff flameouts. But then you win one World Series, and now you're cocky. So we'll see. Hey, we'll see. Any of the non-tenders interest you from other teams? The primary reason I think they're going to trade Trent Grisham is just because it's an oddball fit. He costs kind of a lot of money. The other reason I think they're going to trade Trent Grisham is because Mike Tauchman got non-tendered. And I would rather have Mike Tauchman doing what he does for $2.2 million and being Aaron Judge's friend and maybe improving the Yankees' outlook. I actually would honestly trust him in a big spot more than Trent Grisham. And he would save about 50% or more of the Trent Grisham cost. So if the Cubs don't want him, I'll take him. That one's obvious to me. And if you're taking swings at the middle infield, I don't know why you wouldn't go for Brendan Rodgers, former top prospect of the Rockies. Let loose, kills lefties, worse against righties. Interesting platoon partner at the very least. The reason you wouldn't go for him is because his arbitration cost was escalating. So does he really want to take $2 million? If you wouldn't pay Birdie 3.8, would you pay him 2.5? And would he take that? I doubt it. I bet somebody else bids more, but I'd still take a look. And then Kyle Finnegan, just a free, very recent all-star. If you're trying to fill out the bullpen, you got to pay up this year. You're going to try to figure out how to swing a Devin Williams trade. You're going to have to try to figure out how to sign somebody who matters. But Kyle Finnegan has warts. There's a reason he isn't currently on a roster. $5.1 million for last year. That's hefty. You're going to pay Kyle Finnegan $6 million next year? No. But you're going to pay Kyle Finnegan $4.2 to get him in the Matt Blake lab? I would. Same with Cal Quantrill. I would get him in the Matt Blake lab. Those are my thoughts. Tauchman's the only one, though, where I'm like, yeah, duh. Doy. But any of these others stand out to you?
Jordan Romero did for a second, and he still could. A, he's pitching in division, so I always view that as a plus. Two, he didn't have Tommy John. He had arthroscopic elbow surgery, which I guess could be a precursor to Tommy John if all does not go well after that. But if you're talking about taking a chance on paying a pitcher, like this is a pitcher you take a chance on and not Jonathan Loaizaga, who has proven you wrong for years upon years upon years. Jordan Romano was a closer on a playoff hopeful AL East team. And I think that translates well into what the Yankees are going to do. And guess what? He will not be a closer on the New York Yankees. Luke Weaver will be the closer, and there will be less high leverage. I mean, not fewer high leverage spots because he'll be, you would hope, a late innings reliever, but all the pressure will not be foisted upon him coming to New York from a different setting after a surgery like that. So I think that's someone you throw, 3 million at, see if he bites. I know his projected arbitration salary was almost $8 million, but you're simply not getting that. You're also not getting a multi-year deal after undergoing elbow surgery, unless it's a 1-year deal with an option. Nobody else really interested me. I guess like my only other argument would be maybe like Brian De La Cruz instead of Mike Tauchman, but I don't really care about outfielders at this point because there are enough outfielders in free agency. As opposed to relievers who, again, most of them are going to be expensive. You have to balance it with cost-effective options, in-house options, and expensive options. And I think Romero and Finnegan would be really good for that because they have the high leverage experience. And Finnegan unraveled at the end of the year in the second half of the Nats because how long can you pitch for a non-contender as the rest of the team kind of fell apart? So what's the natural progression when that happens? Things fall by the wayside. So he didn't technically, he had a bit of elbow inflammation, but he came back, I think, and managed to pitch. Might be confusing him with somebody else.
Yeah.
But either way, those are guys that I would take a fly. He was projected to make almost $9 million.
$5+ million last year. Then he had an all-star season. The Nationals are not paying that. I get it. The Yankees are also not paying that. So
he had no injury issues. His issue was a 24 appearances after the all-star break, 5.79 ERA, 3.37 opponent's batting average. So,
dude.
Yeah. Maybe a 1-year, $4 million deal there, and then you join the Matt Blake pitching lab, and then you could potentially have 2-3 high leverage guys who were tasked with being closers who probably weren't closers and now are punching a little bit below their weight. I think that could be smart. Then again, I've never built a team before, but I could try.
I am only going to do this once. This is the last time that I am going to do this.
Do it.
You need a first baseman. Do you want to finally pair All Rise with Arise? Do you want to finally do it? He's set. He made $10 million last year. He's only one more year of arbitration eligibility. He had his worst season in San Diego. He got that OPS plus over 100 to 106 on the full year, but he was coming off 128 the past 2 campaigns. His bad defense was offset by that ridiculous offensive production in both Minnesota and Miami, and not so much in San Diego. He ended up, after seasons of 4.2 and 4.9, B-WAR back down to 1.1 on the year. One of that was accrued in San Diego. If they're looking to get creative and save money in San Diego, which they always are we sure they're going to pay Luis Ariz $12 million? And can we maybe trade Nestor Cortez for Luis Ariz, Nestor Cortez and prospect for Luis Ariz?
That's interesting.
That would be a fair. The Yankees would take on about $6 million there, and they would fill a position of need. The Padres would take a risk, but that risk might pay off with a number 3 starter upside, someone you could ride in the playoffs. Might have to miss June and July in order for you to do it, but it's at least somewhat plausible. I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm probably never going to say it again, but there we go. Now it's on the podcast. And shout out to DeAce Avenue for showing up to show us some love and give us a little bit of a tip. You're the only person to ever show up in the comments and not yell at us, so it honestly feels great to see you here. Thank you for joining. You appear to, hopefully you're a fan of the New York Yankees. Everyone else who shows up is not, and they hate us, which, to be honest, tough feedback loop, especially at this point in time. Fun thing too, I mean, when you create content that is antagonistic to teams you hate, and then the fans of those teams show up in your mentions to scream at you personally, the antagonistic content was not for you, but you insulting me was for me. So it's not really a fair exchange of value, in my humble opinion. Also, the kind of person online who is like, if you're a Red Sox fan and you see an article from a Yankees website that's entitled like Red Sox fans are absolute jokes, and you're like, I think I'm going to click this. This probably won't make me mad. And then you get to the bottom and you're like, now I'm steamed. That's kind of on you. We gave it away. We told you what it was going to be. And then you read it and you got real mad at the thing that you chose to do that wasn't for you. So again, thank you for showing up. If you were a troll, if you were a fan, if you are the person on MLB's Instagram account who put up a graphic of Juan Soto this Saturday in blue and orange background, if that's you, you should be suspended. You should, maybe Ace Avenue should be tipping you $2 because you shouldn't be making your full salary from MLB right now. You knew what you were doing. The post didn't even have to go up. It was just about how Juan Soto had a good season, good engagement bait for a Saturday. The caption was also Juan Soto's 2024 season was out of this world. Is that a Jason Dominguez reference? Are you trying to hit us both? Trying to get Yankees and Mets fans clicking your post, sending your post to people? Steve Cohen's wife following Juan Soto on Instagram, not interesting. Juan Soto liking Francisco Lindor's Instagram, not interesting. Juan Soto following Rafael Devers on Instagram, not interesting. He follows Aaron Judge in the All Rise Foundation. Obviously, that is interesting. That means he's coming back to the Yankees.
Yes.
Follows the Yankees on Instagram. Obviously, that means he's coming back to the Yankees. But yes, MLB social media person who the entire comment section, you got what you wanted. You got flooded with comments from Mets fans who got tricked into thinking that there was a breaking Juan Soto graphic and they were going to find out on Instagram, the beloved app from Meta, the makers of Facebook. I think it's mean to everyone. It's mean to Yankee fans who encountered it. It's mean to Met fans who encountered it because it's absolutely nothing. And both parties are primed for both excitement and disappointment right now. So I hope you enjoy a happy Thanksgiving, but I hope your phone won't stop blowing up from people reading it routinely. And shout out to the one Yankee fan in the comments who hasn't screamed at us yet, Sean Browning. Shout out to you. Yes, no, you've been very kind, and you like the team that is the New York Yankees, and that's the right team to like. So thank you for showing up, being a fan.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, that's it. That's it for today. We got Thanksgiving coming up. What's everyone doing for Thanksgiving? Anything fun?
Sound off. Hit us up on the Yanks Go Yard official Twitter account, Yanks Go Yard FS. We are still there. So if you got good Thanksgiving plans involving sitting by your phone, waiting for a resolution to these talks, we feel you. It's a lot like the Instagram debacle is starting to feel a lot like, remember when Manny Machado was like, it was a Christmas New Year's thing. It was very similar. It was like Manny Machado followed Yes Network. Why would he do that if he wasn't going to sign with the Yankees? Juan Soto liked a random content creator's post jersey swap of him in a Yankees uniform. Why would he do that if he wasn't coming to the Yankees? Well, spoiler alert, wasn't coming to the Yankees. So why does anyone do anything? Why does Steve Cohen's wife follow Juan Soto? Oh, gee, it's almost like the Mets hope to sign Juan Soto. Like, it doesn't even take a lot of...
He's like, let me learn more about this guy.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have a meeting with him, and I want to show off our interest in Juan Soto. I think I'm going to follow him on Instagram. Soto didn't follow back. Snub. Epic snub.
Wow.
But if you want to get the buzz going, what you do is follow Juan Soto on Instagram. People are watching. People are screenshotting. We are talking about it. People are screaming. Right? It's going on. The Twitterverse is popping because Alex Cohen followed Juan Soto. So that's why you do that. Might he sign with the Mets? Yes. Is this have anything to do with that? No. But if you see anything interesting, send it our way. We'll be here just like the rest of you, refreshing every social media source for information as we can glean it, whether it's about Juan Soto or a plan B. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib, in addition to the Yanks Go Yard FS channel that I stole Thomas' thunder by mentioning out loud.
God.
Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you? And don't say the Yanks Go Yard FS account, because just you shouldn't say it. I already said
I am at Juan Soto's personal Instagram account, and
yeah,
also
I am following a bunch of unrelated creators.
I run Juan Soto's Instagram account in case you guys were wondering what my side job was. You can't, you got to juggle multiple balls nowadays. You can't just have one job. So that's my second job.
Yeah.
I'm also at Tommy's_takes. You can head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all of the content is for you. We're going to be keeping you up to date throughout the holiday. So you're traveling Wednesday night, maybe stuck in traffic, maybe your train or plane's delayed. You got us. You head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Everything is going to be sitting right there for you. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be great. We appreciate you guys tuning in, reading, listening, and all that, and engaging. Can't forget about the folks in the chat. Thanks for showing up. And until then, we'll see you next Monday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday. Hopefully big news doesn't interrupt it, but lives on the outskirts. Get to eat your Thanksgiving dinner, spend time with your family, get a nice night of sleep, and then maybe, Friday afternoon, evening, the ball starts rolling.
Yeah, maybe not. At that point, it'll only be a week until the winter meetings, which, as everybody knows, if you think the trade deadline is good, which it is, you're right, the trade deadline is good. The winter meetings are even better, and you could wake up to stuff. Juan Soto is not going to do that to you. He's not. I mean, maybe. I would be very surprised if Scott Boras drops the Juan Soto, Ken Rosenthal tweet at 11:49 p.m. But I wouldn't be shocked. Could happen. I think he's probably going to decide midday. I think you're probably going to see Juan Soto on the floor of the winter meetings in Dallas, hopefully not wearing a Cowboys jersey because nobody wants a contract to go sour. You ever sit and think about how the Cowboys haven't made the conference championship since 1996? I think about that a lot. That's a crazy thing that is true. But hey, if you think about that a lot, if you think about the Yankees, you're in the right place. And we'll see you back here next Monday. Enjoy your turkey day, everybody.